Oh, I'll take it back. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Behind the Glass Sport podcast. Sorry, I have food in my mouth. When I did start my normal intro, random malfunction, and apparently we're live. So you're just gonna have to listen to me chew. There's no etiquette on this podcast whatsoever. So thank you guys for tuning in. Happy Saturday. Today's Saturday, right? We're not doing this on a Sunday. Brandon's still on the other side.
What do you mean? It's Friday.
I'm Stephen Priest. You know, this is why we could never be successful at this. Is because, one, you have no sense of time. Two, I have no sense of time. And we just don't care enough. But we have fun. So I guess that's all that matters. Anyways.
Your mic just died. I don't know. I can't hear you. The music's playing, but you just died. It's on your end. It's got to be on your end. It's got to. Your audio just cropped out on you. I see the music playing on the live stream. I can't hear you.
How about now?
Oh, there you go. What did you do?
I don't know. Somehow I got muted on Discord. Okay. Can we rewind? Can we just start this over?
Wait. Okay, ready? And go.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Behind the Glass Sports podcast. Forget about the last 27 minutes that we just spent screwing up the pod. Brandon Stoll on the other side. I'm Stephen Priest. I got my goldfish in one cup. I got my pickle juice in another cup. I'm ready to rock and roll, baby.
Pickle juice?
Yeah, you don't like pickle juice?
No. That's I hate pickles. Pickles are gross.
What is?
They're literally the worst things on the planet. No one likes pickles. You can't say I'm weird because no one likes pickles. You're weird for liking pickles.
Ugh.
See?
Oh, that's the good stuff right there. How do you not? I don't know why. What do you like? What do you eat? You don't like chocolate. You don't like pickles.
I eat
you don't
food.
Like pickle juice.
I eat.
Pickle juice is incredible, actually.
No, that's
it really
disgusting.
Is.
There's very
people in the
few.
chat, because I would say, chat, do you like pickle juice?
And most of them would say no.
That's not true. That's not true.
That is very true.
Anyways, thanks for joining us today. We appreciate you guys listening. We got a lot to get to today, mainly Nuggets related, because there's nothing really going on with the Broncos until, what, 25th? Something like that? So it's going to be a little bit before we get to that. But anyways, the Denver Nuggets make a trade for Aaron Gordon last week. We talked about it. Did this put them over the top? Are they now a contender? And after 3 games, I'm not ready to say that they're a legit championship contender yet. But Aaron Gordon is the real deal. I'll say that. As the 4th option, he can put up an easy 10 to 14 points a night like he's been doing just off of cuts. The only knock I have on him right now is his free throw shooting. He needs to get some bend in those legs. Like, he has the form to bring it up, and then it just goes straight Mason Plumlee line drive, just right into the rim. And I'm just like, my God, just a little bend in the knees. Like, I see you bend when you go up in 360 windmill. Could you just give me some bend when you're shooting a free throw? Outside of that, he has been really good, if not incredible, defensively. I think I didn't know because I didn't watch a lot of Orlando games, so I was on the side of, let me just wait and see. We have now 3 games under our belt. I'd say he's faced some pretty good competition. There was times where he had to switch out on Trae Young versus Atlanta. There was times where he had to take Ben Simmons. And he had the assignment of guarding Kawhi Leonard the entire night. And I would venture to guess that out of Kawhi's, what did he have, 25-something points the other night? Out of Kawhi's, let me see. Let me look at the exact number.
24.
24 points.
10 of 22 shooting.
I would guarantee that 16 to 18 points of that came against other people. Maybe 14. But Aaron Gordon's first half against Kawhi Leonard was phenomenal. I mean, he was in his airspace the entire time. Now, Kawhi had a better second half, but there was no open shots. I think there was one time where Kawhi gave him a little shimmy, and then he got an open shot. But outside of that, everything was tough. Everything was contested. There was times he had to switch out on Paul George, and Paul George just looked bad.
Yeah, it's not really a challenge.
Okay, let's not be disrespectful. Not like we have to guard Chris Middleton here. See, now you have me slandering Chris Middleton, and Chris Middleton's a solid player. Not good, solid. There's a difference. Is there a difference? There's two poll questions we have to put out.
They're
Is
the
good
same
and solid
player.
the same thing?
They're the same
They're
player.
not the same.
They
I'm
are
not-
the same player.
We're not going down this loophole because that will take 2 hours and it'll never
Actually,
end.
on most nights, Middleton's probably better than Paul George.
I disagree. But anyways, Aaron Gordon, that's beside the point. Aaron Gordon has been every bit the defensive player that many that I trust have said he is. And I don't know if they're better with Aaron Gordon than they were with Jeremy Grant last year. I think they're better offensively for sure. But I don't know if they're worse defensively. That's the thing. Because Gordon is stronger.
Mhm.
He's not longer than Jeremy. Gordon's were like 6'8", 6'9". How tall is Jeremy? 6'9", 6'8"? Like they're
about
around the same height.
Yeah.
So, listen, he changes everything for the Nuggets.
Mhm.
Team defense wise, like this team, we saw at least 3 or 4 shot clock violations against the Clippers. Because now it's not MPJ that has to guard Kawhi, LeBron,
Right.
those guys. It's not Will Barton if he starts. Now it's Aaron Gordon. Now you can somewhat hide MPJ. And Will Barton, I mean, for as much as it's an experience and a roller coaster with him from game to game, he's been playing really well defensively, and he started these games really well offensively.
And you know what? He's your fifth option. So who cares?
He might even be your fourth option. And Gordon might be your fifth option.
Yeah, on some nights. Yeah.
But this starting lineup, and I think we talked about it last week too, about who we would prefer starting. I don't know if it's as easy as saying Monte should start,
Mhm.
because this this starting five, it is tough. Like, how do you help? Who do you double? Like,
You
of course
can't.
they're going to double Jokic
You
But-
can't double because every single one of those guys can shoot.
for the most part. I don't know if Aaron Gordon has the consistency. I mean, he was at like 38 to 39%, I think, from three. I think he's having a career year.
But it's not
actually.
like you can just leave him out on the corner and be like,
No.
all right, we're good.
Well, and even if you leave him and someone closes out on him, he has the athleticism to get by you
Right.
and dunk. And it's been a seamless fit because he can just cut in and he flashes in the lane and Jokic finds him.
Mhm.
I mean, I thought it was going to take some time, but his fit has been seamless. I think Will Barton is a huge key to this because he's been playing really well lately. I think there's too many times where Will's like, hey, don't forget about me. Like, I'm here too. Like, almost like proving like I belong here. But MPJ is playing out of his mind. I don't know how you guard this team because I think the stat is they're outscoring the other teams by like 40 plus points. The starter group that since they've been playing together with Aaron Gordon, it's been phenomenal. I'm excited to see more, but overall, I'm loving the trade.
Yeah, no, and when the trade happened, I think because we had Anthony, tweet us and ask us what we thought about the trade, and I don't remember exactly what I said, but I thought he was going to be just as good of a fit as Jeremy Grant was, if not better, and it's because of the way he plays. Jeremy Grant wanted to do a lot of ball in his hands, drive it himself, take a mid-range jumper, get to the rim, or take a three, right? He needed not necessarily needed, but he wanted the ball in his hands. Aaron Gordon doesn't need the ball in his hands, and he doesn't necessarily want the ball in his hands. He is the perfect player to put alongside Nikola Jokic. And here's the thing that the reason why I think it was such an easy transition, remember who he was playing with in Orlando. He was playing with someone who is essentially a poor man's version of Nikola Vucevic. They're essentially the same player. Now, obviously, Jokic is a much better passer, right? It's not even close. But Vucevic can pass. I think he averaged, what, 5, 6, 7 assists, right around that range, 5, 6 assists. So he's a good passer. And he plays in a similar offensive way as Jokic. So that transition, I don't think was very, very difficult as far as. And playing with Jokic is similar to playing with LeBron, where it's easy to. If you do what you're supposed to do, if you cut, if you hit your shots, it's going to be an easy transition to play with someone like that because they're so good. And their IQ is so high that they do make you better. It's not like I think it's different when you have to play with a guy like Kobe Bryant or a guy like Michael Jordan, right? Where they're not going to, as far as basketball IQ and as far as getting you the ball and putting you in positions to succeed, they're not so much gonna do that because they're a killer. They're gonna go for theirs, right? And they're going to do what they need to do. As far as playing with a guy like LeBron or a guy like Jokic, they're going to get you the ball. They want you involved, and they're willing to sacrifice a lot of their points and a lot of their shots to get you going because they know that you're going to be important in the late game, right? 2 minutes, 3 minutes left in the game. They know if you're in rhythm and you're having a good game because they got you involved early on, you're going to play well later on. So it's an easy way of just playing basketball. And it reminds me of how now obviously Aaron Gordon isn't Kevin Durant, but when Kevin Durant went to Golden State, some of the things that he said was very similar to what Aaron Gordon has said. It's easy to play with this team. The way they move the ball, the way they play basketball, it's a good way of playing. So coming in, it's super easy because they play the game the right way. You're gonna get the ball, and if Aaron Gordon, he's not a selfish player, so it's just it makes everything so easy. And when we look at this team compared to last season, obviously the comparisons with Jeremy Grant and Aaron Gordon is a big deal, and that's what people are looking at. But I'll tell you this: Michael Porter Jr. is a completely different player. Will Barton didn't play, so when you take, you're essentially adding a 6'10" scorer and becoming a pretty good defender and a great rebounder. And then you're adding Will Barton as your fourth or fifth scoring option who can handle the ball, who can run pick and rolls, who can hit tough shots. This team and their starting five is right there with Brooklyn as far as they are the two best starting fives in the NBA right now. Now, the Lakers, you can make an argument, but again, it's really LeBron and AD, and that's about it, right? Andre Drummond helps them a lot, and we can get to that later on. That's a big addition. But as far as starting lineups, offensive firepower in that starting group, it's Brooklyn at number 1, and it's Denver at number 2. And it's not even to me, it shouldn't be a question. That starting five is the second best starting five in the league, easily. So like you said, I don't know how you guard this team, and the way MPJ is playing, he's the difference maker. And I think Stephen A. I retweeted what he said last night on his whatever new show, that he said Denver's a problem, and yeah, Aaron Gordon's a really nice addition, but he's not the reason why they're a problem now. It's Michael Porter. He has elevated his game to where they are officially, that's the big three, and that's one of two big threes in the league. And that's why they have the second best starting lineup. This team can get to the finals this year. They can. It's going to be tough, obviously, going through the West, but they can do it. They made the moves to where now you look at this team and they are right there. They have joined that group with the two LA teams officially.
Yeah, I agree. And when you look at this team, and I'll get to Michael Porter here in a second, but before the trade, it was like, okay, we know this is a good team, but there's still some matchups that you really didn't want to see.
It was
even though Dallas is a 7 seed, I didn't want to see Dallas.
Right. It was two LA teams by themselves and then you had the group of Utah, Phoenix, Denver, Portland. They
Yeah.
were in that group of 4,
Now,
and maybe Dallas.
now that you have Aaron Gordon, and he changes so much, I don't know if there's a team. I mean, outside of like the Lakers and the Clippers, and it's not like to disrespect Utah and Phoenix because I think those are really good teams, and I think if Denver were to lock horns with any of those teams, that's a 6-game series. I think 6 or 7 games. I wouldn't be shocked if it went that long. But even like with Dallas, I don't fear playing Dallas anymore because now you have a guy in Aaron Gordon who you can put on Luka. Now you can hide Jamal and put him on, Tim Hardaway or whoever.
And it's not like these guys are bad defenders, though. Like, yeah, we have to hide them, but Jamal's not a bad defender, and MPJ
he's getting
MPJ
better,
is not a bad defender anymore.
He's solid.
He's solid.
He's solid. He's not good, but he's solid. There's levels. It goes bad. It goes from suck, bad, average. It's average and solid are the same thing.
No. I would say solid is better than average.
Same thing.
I would say
look in the dictionary. They're synonyms.
I would say MPJ is an average defender right now, maybe slightly below, because he can't one-on-one go one-on-one with you. But he's a great help defender. Well, I wouldn't say great, but he's a good help defender, and his length helps you a lot. And his rebounding is that.
Oh, he's a top-tier rebounder in the league.
That changes everything because he's giving you 1 to 2 extra possessions a game.
Exactly. The point is that MPJ has gotten better.
Mm-hmm.
So wherever
Much
he's
better.
at, whether it's average, solid, good, wherever you want to put him, he's gotten better. He's not necessarily a liability anymore.
Right.
It's still not great. He still is not very laterally quick. He still has trouble closing out.
But
on
neither
guys.
neither is Kevin Durant. And so I think when you look at those two, I think the comparison that you would give MPJ to is Kevin Durant. Like I think that's where his ceiling is Kevin Durant. Will he get there? I don't know. He could.
But
you never know.
But he's a step below that.
But I would say watch game 1, or I guess watch his first game. I don't know if that was game 1 or not. Watch his first game and the game against the Clippers. How much he has gotten better from game 1 to now is incredible. So imagine from now to the playoffs, or from now to 2 years from now. Exactly. He is getting so much better. It's way faster than Jamal, way faster than Nikola Jokic. It's because his talent level is so much higher than those two, his raw talent. And so when you're playing with guys like Nikola Jokic, Jamal Murray, who are players that can get the best out of you, he's getting so much better, so much faster. And then Michael Malone, as far as a development coach, is incredible. So his development has gone from, 10% to about 90% right now as far as where he's going. And the Aaron Gordon fit with MPJ has been incredible.
Now you got two of those guys.
Yeah.
Because you add size, you add length, and all of a sudden the Nuggets become a quietly big team.
Mm-hmm.
MPJ is 6'10". Aaron Gordon's 6'8", 6'9". Will Barton's 6'6", 6'5", 6'6", probably 6'6". Jamal's 6'4", 6'5", and then you have Jokic who's 7 feet. So it's a big lineup, but they can switch.
Mm-hmm.
And the team defense has gotten so much better. It's not just effort, but Aaron Gordon makes up for so much. There was a play in the Clippers game. I don't know if you saw this play, but usually that's Paul Millsap on the weak side. And Zubac comes off the slip, and he's open. That's a dunk every time if it's Paul Millsap. Aaron Gordon comes and challenges it, blocks the alley-oop, and then it goes the other way, and I think it's a 3.
Yeah.
And I'm like, whoa, we didn't have that at all this year. We probably had it last year with Jeremy Grant.
But see,
I don't know.
I was gonna say I don't know if Jeremy makes that play either. Jeremy Grant was, and here's the thing: Jeremy Grant was Jeremy Grant was a great one-on-one defender. He would go one-on-one with guys like Kawhi, LeBron, even I don't know. But the thing is, he couldn't really guard guys like Anthony Davis, right?
Mm.
Aaron Gordon, even though he's 6'8", he's a natural power forward. Whereas Jeremy Grant wanted to play more on the wing, he's more of a 3, and that's what he's doing in Detroit. So I think Aaron Gordon is a better he's just as good, I think, as a one-on-one player because it may be better because he can guard the guards. Jeremy Grant really couldn't do that. And he can guard the bigger guys too. He has more versatility as far as defending one-on-one, and I think he's a better help defender. As you said, I'm not sure. I wouldn't put it past Jeremy Grant to make that play, but Aaron Gordon can make that play, and he's a really, really good help defender. And that's something that they didn't have even last year.
Yeah.
And when they play the Lakers and a guy like Anthony Davis, who, by the way, killed Denver because they didn't have anyone to guard Anthony Davis because they were putting Jeremy Grant on LeBron. Now you can put a guy like Aaron Gordon on Anthony Davis. He can switch with you on LeBron. And here's the other thing. I wouldn't complain with Michael Porter defending Anthony Davis at this point.
That's what I was gonna say. I think I'd prefer Aaron Gordon be
But they can switch
on LeBron, and then MPJ would have to be on Anthony Davis, or I guess Jokic. Depending on who the Lakers trot out. I guess it'd be Drummond at this point. So you'd probably want him on Drummond, so to avoid foul trouble. But yes, the point is that they can switch. This team is now interchangeable. There's now things you can do that you weren't able to do before. You probably could do a little bit of it last year. And I think, to your point that you just made, I forgot who said it. It might have been Matt Moore or somebody like that when the trade first went down, is that Jeremy Grant is a better probably individual defender than Aaron Gordon. But after what he did against Kawhi,
well, now I don't know.
But I saw someone say, I feel like I saw that Aaron Gordon's a better team defender though. And you see that. Mm-hmm. They've become more athletic, more size now, and now there's more firepower on the offensive end. And it goes back to Michael Porter. Ryan Blackburn put out these stats. MPJ's true shooting percentage
it's
by
absurd.
month
It's
in
absurd.
December, 69%. January, 70.5%. February, 54.2%. March, 70.8% through 14 games. And April, 75.8%. He had, I think it was 23 the other night. And slowly you're starting to see too. Have you been noticing this trend? And it goes back to what I predicted in the beginning of the year. I thought Jamal was going to be the leading scorer. Now Jamal's starting to take over the scoring ring.
And Jokic is like, here you guys go.
Jokic is just, and part of me kind of
enjoy
is bummed a little bit.
He's going to lose his MVP if it continues to go down this road.
Because I think his numbers will eventually go down.
Yeah.
But I think that I just don't want him to get into a mode where he's like, okay, now I can be passive again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I just don't want that. I don't think he will, but I just worry about that because there was times in that Clippers game where I was like, just you go.
Yeah.
Don't try and get it to just you go.
Right.
I think part of that is them.
But that's that LeBron effect. That's kind of
right.
what happens with LeBron is when you have so much talent around you, all of a sudden you're relying on these guys. But then some of these guys. But here's the difference: Jamal can close, and I trust MPJ to hit a tough shot to win a game because he can do it.
Is
he
there
has that
any
mentality.
team that has better tough shot makers and clutch shot makers on their team?
No,
I think
other than Brooklyn. I'm telling
Right.
you, it's Brooklyn. I think we can get to this in a little bit, but as of right now, we are in a collision course between Brooklyn and Denver. Right now, we gotta wait and see what happens with the Lakers because
I don't know if I'm ready to go there yet.
But the reason why we're on a collision course in my mind is because the Lakers right now, we just don't know. There's a lot of question marks with them as far as health. What happens when Anthony Davis comes back? Because his type of injury just doesn't go away, right? There's a reason why they said, just a couple weeks, and it's been 2 months. Like, it's one of those injuries where I think it's a matter of not if, but when something worse is going to happen with him. And as far as LeBron goes, there's a good chance, a really good chance, that Denver can jump over not just the Lakers but the Clippers and force them into a 4-5. And if they get into a 4-5 in the first round, I wouldn't be shocked if the Clippers beat them because you're giving the Lakers barely any time to get going and to get that momentum. Because remember what happened last year? They would lose game 1 to Portland, and then they kind of figured things out. They lost game 1 to Houston, and then they figured things out. And they had kind of an easy road to the conference finals. Whereas this year, it's not going to be easy unless they fall back and get maybe a 7 seed. Then it might be a little bit easier because then they would have to play Phoenix, and it's like, okay, Phoenix is not ready to play that team. And so it might be, that type of situation. But then you're playing either the Clippers or the Nuggets in the second round. So it doesn't, they're not going to have an easy road. And when they got to Denver in the conference finals, Denver was coming off of 2 7-game series where they were down 3-1 in both of them. They were dead tired. And the Lakers have been sitting around, had 2 easy series. I don't know if they even had a close game in those 10 games. So
yeah, I mean, both games were 5-game series, and really, I think the game that swung that series was game
the
3,
game
Anthony
winner.
Davis's
Yep.
buzzer beater.
Yep.
So, I mean, if the Nuggets win that one, I think they're up 2-1 at that point, and at that point, it's any man's series.
Right, it's a 6-7 game series. So that, again, like I said before, they were a 1 AD shot away from that being 6 games, probably 7 games. And so and by the way, that was Jeremy Grant and Mason Plumlee. Do you think in a late game situation that Aaron Gordon is making that mistake?
I don't know. I hope not. I mean, I hope we're not in that situation.
Do you think that that JaVale McGee, if it was Aaron Gordon and JaVale McGee, and I get JaVale McGee makes some stupid decisions, but he's been on championship teams, and we can get to that in a little bit, but he's been on championship teams. So if it's Aaron Gordon and JaVale McGee, I don't think they make that mistake.
I mean, I would hope not. But I think I'm just not ready to go there yet because I don't know if I'd still.
It's a
pick
wait
this
and
team.
see. It's a wait and see to see what happens with the Lakers because they're
Right.
a question mark.
I think right now, if you would have asked me before the trade, if the Nuggets had matched up with the Clippers, what would you think? I would probably think Clippers in 5. Now, Denver in 6.
Yeah,
Denver in 7.
it's a massive mismatch nightmare for the Clippers. They just do not. It's not necessarily
Well,
that they look. I think Denver might have a little bit more talent at this point, but the Clippers do have Kawhi Leonard, and that's a big deal. And I don't think Kawhi Leonard would have a bad Game 7 like he did last year. But I don't think he gets to 7 anymore because it's a mismatch problem. And right now, the talent-wise, I think it points to Denver.
Well, part of it is they don't have enough horses. Like that's where we're at with Denver.
Right.
Now it's how many teams have enough horses to match with Denver.
Do you
Because
have
now
a
you
fourth,
4
fifth
guys.
guy? Right.
You got 3 guys. One's an MVP candidate. Another guy
Was bubble MVP.
even though he's inconsistent at times. Now it looks like Jamal has really started to assert himself. And you have to respect his late game heroics. You just have to.
Yeah.
I mean, he could be shooting 6 of 16, but all it takes is 1 fourth quarter, and it's, oh man, we were up 10, and now we're going to lose by 3.
Well, the Clippers made it close, and guess who closed it out? Guess
It
who
was
said
Jamal.
who shut the door? It was Jamal.
But then also, okay, so you take away those guys. Okay, well now we need our third player to do something about MPJ, who has elevated his game. This was one thing I was concerned about earlier in the years. Last year we saw it was either a dunk or it was a contested 3. There was no in-between games. Now they're running action for him. Now he's coming off of pin downs. He's shooting at the free throw line. Now he's taking guys off the dribble. He's strong. He's patient under the basket. He's not forcing it. And it's like, whoa, okay, now you got to deal with that guy. And then now your fourth guy, okay, if you're falling asleep, Aaron Gordon cuts in the lane, and there's Jokic finding him, and that's a dunk.
50-inch vertical alley-oop dunk.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you have Will Barton, too, who you can't discount. But, I mean, Will Barton, we know, can score the basketball.
Will Barton is your Lou Williams that the Clippers had, but Lou Williams was their third guy. that's where it's like.
He's capable of putting up 15 to 30 a night.
He now fits.
Might be a stretch, but
he's now that guy that's gonna kill teams like Rodney Hood killed Denver, or Lou Williams or Jordan Clarkson. He is that role. He's no longer your third guy, and that's a huge. And it's what's crazy is Jordan Clarkson was their third guy. Rodney Hood was the third guy. It's no longer that. The third guy is MPJ, and MPJ is a consistent 20-point scorer. So it's no longer MPJ's a role guy. He's part of the big 3.
He's a bona fide star,
Right.
and now it's to a point too where he can be the leading man
Mhm.
in a night.
Mhm.
Like it's not there's no hierarchy with this team. With
Right.
the three main guys, it's not I have to be
And
the
there's
guy.
no ego problem.
No. And what makes it even more difficult is like, okay, offensively, we know that they're going to score. We can go score on them. Well, now not so fast because now with Aaron Gordon, it seems like everything has now changed. Now they're a better defensive team. At least through these 3 games, we've seen improvement. Now we have to see it throughout the rest of the season. Things can happen, but this trade has completely changed the team. And for the Clippers, I think it's now become a questionable matchup because the Clippers are kind of easy to guard offensively. And I say easy in like a relative term in that they don't rely on a lot of ball movement.
Mhm.
For them, it's ISO stuff. I mean, yeah, they do their occasional pick and roll with Zubats and maybe they get a lob here and there. But for the most part, it's Kawhi, dribble, 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 get to the block, get to a spot and shoot a fadeaway. Or it's Paul George, dribble, 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 use a screen and shoot up a contested three.
Well, and that's
Or
how the
get
that's how the Lakers are too.
Right. And so in a sense you're kind of easy to guard in that way.
Right.
Whereas with the Nuggets, they're best when the ball is moving, there's action, there's cutting, stuff like that. I don't know who's ringing my doorbell, so I apologize for my dog's bark. But this team has become different overnight, a dangerous team overnight. And now I look at the Western standings and I'm like, who do I fear? Like, obviously, yes, I wouldn't want to play the Clippers. I don't want to play the Lakers, but now I feel way more comfortable. If we had to play Utah, now I think it's. I was thinking about this earlier today. I was like, okay, if you play Utah, now Donovan has to guard.
It's a horrible matchup for Utah now.
He has to guard Jamal because he can't guard anybody else. You're not going to put him on MPJ. You're not going to. I mean, maybe you could put him on Will Barton.
Yeah,
but
I think that's the one guy you have to hide him on.
Okay, but then who's going to guard Jamal? I mean, I guess Royce O'Neal. But okay, so here's the thing, though. So obviously, Gobert's going to have to guard Jokic, right?
Mm.
So we know that.
And
Okay,
that's
Royce O'Neal,
and Jokic has historically killed Gobert.
Sure. And then, but Royce O'Neal is their best defensive player in the starting lineup. Well, do you want him on Jamal, or do you want him, since he's a little bit bigger, 6'5", 6'6", do you want him on MPJ? Okay, if you put him on MPJ, well then you're gonna put Bogdanovich on Jamal.
No.
Well then who's guarding Aaron Gordon? So it's
Right.
like they have to match up. Now on the flip side, now Jamal has to guard, Royce or Donovan Mitchell.
Well,
I guess
but
he
here's the thing.
guard Royce O'Neal, but
Will Barton, and I don't know if you're the same way, but I always forget that Will Barton did not play in that series. Will Barton can guard Donovan Mitchell. Will Barton drives me nuts 99% of the time. I hate watching Will Barton play basketball on the offensive end. On the defensive end, he's been really good. He's puts in the effort. And that's where I think it made it a little bit easier to say, okay, we're gonna trade Gary Harris because the way Will Barton's playing defensively.
yeah.
And by the way, they could also say, you know what, Will, you're coming off the bench now. We're gonna put PJ Dozier on.
Yeah. With Will Barton, it's an experience. You have to accept Will Barton's
Yes.
good with his bad. Like, it's just, we have to get to the point as Nuggets fans, and I get there's a lot of Nuggets fans that like to crap on Will Barton every game. His mistakes are glaring. When they're there, they're glaring.
I mean, and it's not just one time. It's like a
No.
3-minute stretch where it's like,
He-
oh my God,
it's
slow
not
down.
It's like he's Costco when he gives out his mistakes. It's a turnover, it's a bad shot, it's a foul, and it's like, okay, this is the stretch of the game where Will Barton is going to go stupid nuts.
I
and
forget
not-
when it was, but it happened in that Clippers game. And I was like, okay, Malone, please call timeout. We need to just settle him
Really?
down.
Right. But then on the other end, he makes tough threes. He's getting to the basket.
Yeah.
If there's one thing you can respect about Will Barton is that when things are stagnant and the ball goes to Will Barton,
He'll make
you
something
can
happen.
guarantee he's going to try and make something happen.
Yeah.
So you can respect that.
But he's either going to make it worse or he will help.
Right. It's high risk
High
and
risk
deathly reward. Fatal. Like terminal risk. Like that's what it is. You're literally going big or you're going home
Yeah,
with Will
right.
Barton and the ball in his hands.
Right.
But I think the Nuggets enjoy that about him.
Mhm.
And every team needs one of those guys that's a little unhinged and kind of on the
You
edge.
need
Will
you
Barton,
need your J.R. Smith.
right? And he's that guy. And then you have 4 steady horses around him. Well, 3. Aaron Gordon, but Aaron Gordon just fits he's literally a perfect fit.
Yeah.
Like he's literally this offense, and what he's asked to do was designed for a player like him of his skill set.
Mhm.
He's a great athlete. He's a great cutter. He's so solid within that mid-range area.
And it's not just like because Jeremy Grant was a good fit too, but it's not just he's a great fit. He wants to be that piece. That's his game. Whereas for Grant, it was like, okay, you fit this. You can be this type of player, and we need you to
But he
be this type of player, and you can fit. But then he was like, well, yeah, I can be that player, but I want to be more. Aaron Gordon's had his chance to be more. He has realized he's not that guy, and he wants to win. He's gotten to that point, whereas now Jeremy Grant's going through that in Detroit. He can be that player. He's been that player in Detroit, but they're winning, 1 every 10 games.
Ball gets swing to Mason Plumlee, and he's shooting a line drive 3 that has a curve to the right. So
right.
it's-
Aaron Gordon's gone through that. He's gone through those days with Orlando. So now it's time for him to accept the type of player that he is and type of role that he's in. And he's great. Not only is he great at it, but he loves it. And that's the difference. He's loving where he's at. He's loving what role he's playing in. He doesn't need to be the number 1 guy, the number 2 guy, or even the number 3 guy. He's like, hell, I'll be the number 6 guy because I'm doing exactly what I want to do.
Even if he wanted to, I think he knows, like, I'm not better than Jokic.
Right.
I'm not better than Jamal. And
Right.
you see MPJ, who's a walking unicorn. And can you really say with a straight face, like, oh, I'm better than that guy?
I think Jeremy Grant was like, oh, I'm better than MPJ. And I think that was the
Which,
difference.
at
the time he was.
Yes.
Right.
Because now you see what he's doing, and MPJ wasn't doing that last year.
Mhm.
Now, there's flashes where you're like, okay, he can do that. Like the Indiana game
Right.
and all those games, like he can do that, coming down the floor, sticking a 3 in LeBron's face in the bubble, and you're like, oh, well, yeah, he has that. But now he's doing it every night.
Right.
And now it's a legitimate thing. He still can't catch, but now he's doing it.
I'm
So-
still waiting for that, like, welcome to the NBA game, because Jamal had
I
that.
don't think he's had it yet.
No, because Jamal had it when he put up 48 against Boston. Remember that? That was what? That wasn't last year. I think
Well,
that was
maybe
2 years
like-
ago.
I don't think he needs that. I think the media and teams realize that, like, maybe he hasn't had one of those games where he scores.
Well,
40,
I'm not
50.
saying like the league recognized him. I'm just saying as far as him on this team saying I can put up 50. Jokic has had it. Jamal's had it. He can do it. He just hasn't had it. I'm waiting for that game where Jokic and Jamal just say, "Dude, you're going nuts.
at
Go.
it.
Just
Well,
go."
that was the other night against Atlanta. I mean, he came out and he was just wiping the floor with those guys. Or was it Atlanta or was it?
Yeah,
did
but
we
I
play
think
after
I think you still have an. Yeah, it was against. I believe it was against Atlanta, but I think
Or was
it was.
Philly? One of
It's still one of those things where it's like Jamal and Jokic will still be like, okay, our turn. Whereas I'm waiting for that day where that game where Jamal and Jokic just say, all right, we're just gonna sit back and watch you play. And I think we'll get that next year.
Yeah.
But I'm still waiting for that game. That that game where you see, okay, MPJ he's not just able to be a third guy on this team, and a third star part of the big 3, but it's he can be the big one. He can be the guy. And I'm waiting for that game because we know he has a talent. I'm just waiting for that game to happen to where Jokic and Jamal say, "All right, you go. You're number 1."
Yeah.
For this game.
And, it's funny because we talk about all this, but you know what the best part about this is at the end of the day, when there's a minute left and it's the 4th quarter, and there's,
Right.
It's tied, you're down 3, up 3, and you need to close out the game. They're going to the 2-man game. Jokic is waving his big paw to tell everybody, pack over there. Will, shut up. Hide over there. You're not touching the ball, William. and then it's okay, Jamal, let's go.
Yeah.
That's the best part of every game is when it's those two, because then it's magic, and then it's okay. You don't help on Jamal. That's a tough bucket. Okay, Jokic has the switch. Good luck, 6'4" point guard, as he puts his armpit hair up your nostrils and drops in a floater. It's just, I don't think I've seen a more talented Nuggets team in the years that I've been watching the Nuggets since 03, since Melo came in. I don't think there's been a more talented team. And maybe I should narrow it down. A more talented starting five.
Mm-hmm.
At the
There's
57
been deeper teams.
Right. Like that 57 win team that got bounced in the first round against Golden State.
Yeah.
That team, they're not. They wouldn't have a chance
Not even
against
close.
this team.
No.
Last year's team.
This is a championship team. There's a difference. That 09 team was a championship team. This team is a championship team. Now the problem is you're looking across and there's a bunch of championship teams. There's the Lakers and there's the Brooklyn Nets. You could even say the Clippers, but they haven't done anything to, they have Kawhi. He's the only one that's done anything.
Kawhi, Ty Lue, Rondo.
Right.
They're
Well, yes,
championship-
the Rondo. They have championship guys. They just haven't done anything. The Nets, true, haven't done anything, but we all expect they're gonna be there. They're gonna be
They're
in the
just
finals, right? There,
Yeah.
it's good luck, Giannis. It's sorry, like
Oh yeah, that's done in 5.
yeah.
Nobody's coming out of the East that's not Brooklyn.
I'd be shocked if a team took the Nets to 6. I'd be shocked.
I'd be shocked if anyone got them to 5. Like I think they would beat Milwaukee in 5, but I would be shocked if Milwaukee got them to 5.
Yeah.
Because they're just, how do you, like we talk about how can you help on the nut? Who do you double? Who do you help on
You
with
can't.
Brooklyn?
You can't.
It's either KD, Kyrie, Harden, Joe Harris is in the corner,
Mhm.
and they don't even need a 5th. You could just play 4-on-5, and they'll probably still beat you.
Yeah.
So
That's the thing with them, and that's why I put them ahead of Denver as far as that starting 5, because does Denver have maybe a deeper team than the Nets? Yes. But Brooklyn has the higher talent. They
they have
have
3 certified Hall of Famers.
Yeah. And look, I can make an argument that the Nuggets have 3 Hall of Famers on their team right now. But we just don't know. Like they're not there. They're not there yet. Whereas the Nets have 3 guys, not just future Hall of Famers, but still in their prime. Or at the very end of their prime, but they're still there. They can
And they're
still
not just Hall of Famers, but there's 3 of the most gifted scorers in the modern era.
Right. So that's the difference. But when you go down the list and you go through the West and you say, okay, who has a better 1 than the Nuggets? Okay, the Lakers do. I would say that's about it. Okay, who has a better 2 than the Nuggets?
The Lakers.
The Lakers. Okay, who has a better 3?
Nah, that's where you hit the problem.
No one. Who has a better 4? No one. Who has a
You
better
hit the
5?
problem.
No one. Who has a better 6? By the way, Monte Morris hasn't played.
Monte
So
or JaVale.
or JaVale. So that's the thing, and we can get to JaVale now that you brought him up, because even though he hasn't played, he's going to win the Nuggets a couple playoff games. He's a guy where he brings in that championship experience. He's been there, done that. And he's going to help, ironically enough, he's going to help them settle down in moments. And I think that's where, especially defensively, when they can't stop anyone, I think Malone will have an opportunity to say, okay, you know what, we're going to put JaVale in here because Gobert is killing us right now. And JaVale will nix that, and it'll be over in a heartbeat. So, and by the way, I think JaVale, like Aaron Gordon, look, JaVale can't shoot like Aaron Gordon, but JaVale can do the same exact things that Aaron Gordon can offensively. He can cut, he can roll, and he's going to get a lot of alley-oop dunks from guys like Jokic, like Monte Morris. He's going to be a big piece in that second unit. I'm not sure why Malone just said he hasn't had opportunities.
Well, he said after the last game he has to get him in.
He
and that
needs to
talked
get
with
him
JaVale. He needs to get him in. He needs time to get with the guys. Because that second unit, even though the starters come in and just like kick the floor with the first team every game these past 3 games, the second unit comes in and it's like, woof, okay, now we're going to let them back in the game.
And
But I
Campazzo's been brutal. I'm sorry. He's been
he's
brutal.
he's
He has good moments.
he has moments, and then he has moments where it's like, oh, but he has moments. His moments are very impactful. His good moments are very impactful moments.
Defensively, it's energy moments.
Yeah. Now he does find guys, I think, in a way that Jokic can as well. He's a good floor general.
The problem
but
though,
he's a liability
when
offensively.
yes, he can find guys. He has good vision. But I don't think he has the talent that Jokic does to get them the ball, right? Or the height too. Like Campazzo sees them. It's like a quarterback right? Like you can have a high IQ, like Mac Jones. He has a high IQ. He can see the play happening. But does he have the arm to get the ball there like a Zach Wilson or a Trevor Lawrence or a Justin Fields? No. Or a Trey Lance? No. But he has IQ to see it happening. That's like Campazzo where he sees it and he feels like he can get the ball there, but it just can't get there either on time.
The physics and the external factors matter for him.
Right.
He has to have the perfect angle to be able to get the ball
Right.
through.
Whereas Jokic, it doesn't matter. He sees it,
Throws
it
it
can
open.
happen.
Yeah. But no, I think JaVale, you mentioned he's going to be key in the second unit. If the Nuggets get matched up against the Lakers, I would not be shocked if JaVale McGee starts.
Right. That's
because you would put him on Anthony Davis, you would put Jokic on Drummond, you have Aaron Gordon on LeBron, you have MPJ on whoever.
Well, I'll say this. Don't move Aaron Gordon to the bench. You go Jamal, MPJ, Gordon, Jokic, and McGee.
You know what I'm saying? You switch out Will Barton.
That's a
or
massive.
Monte.
That's a massive lineup.
So that's who you'd play. But I think that McGee pickup is going to pay dividends down the road.
It'll pay dividends against Utah, maybe Phoenix, the Lakers. It's really for the Lakers, yes.
I think it's specifically for the Lakers.
But it'll help against those other teams, those other big teams. It'll help against Dallas. That's one where they throw Boban out there. Okay, McGee, save us.
Yeah, you're going to kill us more, Boban. We're tired of you kicking us around all the time.
That's that move.
But I'm curious to see him play. I mean, we know what JaVale brings. I mean, he's not going to do anything out of the ordinary, but
no.
I think he'll bring an element to this team that they hadn't had, that they need, specifically against the Lakers. But that second unit, I mean, once you get Monte back, then it's going to be a question of, okay, who sits? Because Paul Millsap has actually played really well in the second unit.
He fits perfectly in the second unit.
JaMychal Green, even though he's been hit and miss since he's come back, he can stretch the floor still. So it's like him and Paul, they're almost kind of interchangeable in a way. So then it's and PJ Dozier, he's kind of been up and down. I think they really need Monte in that second unit.
Yep.
That way he doesn't necessarily, like, we know PJ can handle the ball and he's generally a good decision maker, but these past few games he's struggled a little bit.
There's a reason why Campazzo is playing so many minutes.
Right. But if you had to line up a second unit, say it's, JaVale starts and you can bring in Monte, Will Barton, PJ Dozier, and then it's, JaMychal Green or Paul Millsap. Who am I missing that would play? I mean, maybe both of those guys would play in that lineup, and that's your five and Campazzo sits. So
I think Campazzo will sit come playoff time.
Oh yeah, he won't get unless it's a blowout.
Yeah,
he's not going to get minutes, or unless there's foul trouble.
Yeah, and I think they'll go towards an 8-man lineup. So, especially with how good this starting five is, I think you go 8, and a ninth guy maybe get a couple minutes at the end of the first half type of thing. So I think your 8 would be Monte. Depending on who you're playing, JaVale / Millsap, Green, and Dozier. But I think, man, it gets. I would say that's tough. It gets tough.
It might be JaVale and JaMychal are matchup based.
Yeah, that might be it.
That might be it, or even PJ Dozier to an extent.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's PJ that's right. A victim of that.
If you need more wing help, then it would be JaMychal Green or Dozier.
Yeah.
If you need more guard help, like if you're playing Utah, then okay, let's go. Well, let's look at the standings. Who would they play right now? They would play.
Well, they're They're back at 5 because the Lakers won last night.
Okay, let's say.
But
Okay,
they're between 4 and 5. If they win tomorrow, they'll be back at 4 because they have the tiebreaker.
Let's say
of the Lakers.
hypothetically they go on a massive win streak because they're only a game behind the Clippers, and they now could own the tiebreaker depending. They play the Clippers one more time.
One more game.
Let's say hypothetically, best case scenario, the Nuggets do it. They get the 2 LA teams stuck at 4 and 5 to play each other in the first round, and Denver
at
leaps
3?
both of them. They leap to 3. Okay, so now let's say they have to play Portland. What lineup would you throw out there?
So it'd be Jamal. Man, do I want to start?
I think you go with your
I
starting
think I
5 that
keep
they have
Will.
now. I
I think I keep Will.
Yep.
Because now with the addition of Norman Powell, I think you put Jamal and Damian. You put Will Barton on either Powell or CJ. Probably Powell, and then Aaron Gordon on CJ,
You could do that.
and then MPJ on
Powell
Covington.
or Covington. Yeah.
Is he their starter? And then, well, obviously Jokic is on Nurkic, but I'd probably start Will. I mean, I guess you could start Monte, but
Defensively, I think you'd get killed.
yeah, I'd probably start Will there. Yeah, I think I'd start Will.
Okay.
If it was Dallas, I think I'd start Will as well.
Okay, who's your 3? Who's your 3 against off the bench against Portland? I'm only giving you 3.
Let me write this down. This is very stressful. So who did I say would start? Will?
And this is hypothetical if they get the 3 seed and if the Nuggets are healthy. That's obviously a big factor.
So if it's Portland, I'd obviously PJ. PJ would have to.
You only get 3.
Cantor. Do I want size for Cantor? I mean, can Paul? Because Cantor's a legit 6'10". JaMychal and Paul are 6'8" ish. I might say JaVale and Monte. So Monte, PJ, and JaVale would be my 3. And then, maybe Paul gets spot minutes here and there if there's foul trouble or something like that.
But he's on the outside looking in. He's like that. He's like that 9th guy. Okay.
Because I think Portland's going to go smaller.
Right.
Well, it also depends too. Is Zach Collins going to be back? Because if Zach Collins is back, then it's a little bit different. Then I think you have to find a way to get Millsap in the game because you need more height. So I mean, listen, Monte's not going to be the guy looking out. Like Monte's going to get his minutes. So
yeah, Monte's your 6th man. Okay, what about Dallas?
Dallas, I would, because that's also not a big team. Because who do they have off the bench? Kleba, Brunson. I don't know if I'd do JaVale because Boban doesn't play that much. So it'd probably be PJ, Monte, and either Paul or JaMychal.
Okay, and if they throw Boban out there, you put in JaVale.
Yeah, you'd have to throw in JaVale. But usually Boban does. I mean, but Dallas does that a lot. Like Carlisle puts Boban in against Denver
against
a
the
lot.
Nuggets, yeah, because he knows it's Nuggets.
So I mean, I guess if they put Boban in, then sure, I'm gonna have to utilize JaVale. But I really think, I mean, now that I think about it, I think it's gonna be PJ, Monte, JaVale, and Paul, and JaMychal are gonna be the matchup based. I think he's gonna have to play 9. I don't think he's going to be able to get away from not
But
playing
again,
9.
if this starting 5 is so good in the playoffs when you need it, it's the 9th guy will get like 5 minutes. It'll be short stretches.
And maybe that's Paul.
Yeah.
Maybe that's Paul because I think I would trust. That's tough too. I don't know. Who do I trust more?
It could be JaVale. It could be JaVale just giving you energy, depending on the team. Okay, let's say worst case scenario. You get matched up with the Lakers. You're the 4, they're the 5.
Well,
I would say that's worst case scenario.
Yeah, but I'm starting JaVale. So it's Jamal, MPJ, Aaron Gordon, Jokic, and JaVale.
Okay.
Because who's the Lakers starting 5? Obviously, it's LeBron, it's AD,
Drummond, Schroeder, Caldwell Pope.
Does Schroeder start for them?
Yes, I believe he starts at point.
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, we'll see because we haven't seen them
Is it
healthy.
Schroeder
So
KCP or is it KCP Kuzma?
no. Kuzma comes off the bench.
Okay, so then it'd be Schroeder KCP.
Yeah.
So then for that, I'm putting Gordon on LeBron. I'm putting JaVale on AD. Obviously, Jokic is going to Drummond. I mean, Jamal could take either, Schroeder or KCP. Like those guys are. I mean, I'd be fine with either Will or him guarding those guys.
Mhm.
But now I think you match up a little bit better against the Lakers.
Yeah.
I don't know if
Who's
that
coming off
puts
the
you over
bench?
top.
Because they have Kuzma, Montrezl Harrell, and
Russo.
yeah,
Russo.
I would say that's their 8. Because they
So
run an
then-
8. They're not gonna run a 9.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Wesley Matthews.
Well,
is
I
he gonna
guess
get
Marcus Sol could
or
be
the
their
Morris, the other Morris twin.
or no, yeah, I forgot about Morris. Yeah, it would be Morris.
But at that point, I
they're
think
they're
that
gonna go
team,
9.
I think you're gonna have to go 9 this year. But I think it's Monte, and in this particular matchup, maybe it's Monte because the Lakers are a bigger team still. Kuzma's coming off the bench. I think maybe you have to do Monte, Paul, and either
Green.
PJ or JaMychal.
Yeah.
They might all have to play. So I don't think he's going to be able to get away from 9. Now, whoever's the 9th guy in a given series, he may get, like you said, the 5 to 7 minutes.
Right.
But I trust Paul in 5 to 7 minutes. I trust JaMychal in 5 to 7 minutes of action.
Mhm.
Monte's not going to get relegated to that. I think I generally would trust PJ, but listen, Aaron Gordon changes everything about this team.
Well,
They're
I mean,
able to match up better with everybody.
right. I don't think going down the list, obviously we saw them against the Clippers. I mean, we could look at Utah and Phoenix, but again, I just don't think it's good. Man, Utah's won 8 in a row, and Phoenix has won 5 in a row. Whew, I don't know if anyone's catching them. I thought one of the LA teams would catch them. Obviously, the Lakers won't. The Clippers I thought would, but the Clippers, they're so inconsistent.
Yeah.
And I think Denver's just a little too far out. Like
Yeah,
Denver,
no one's catching Utah unless they go on some massive injury,
Right.
something COVID hits them.
Yeah.
No one's gonna catch Utah.
you could possibly catch Phoenix, but Phoenix is playing so well.
Phoenix maybe, and I think their schedule is a little bit lighter. I don't think they face a ton of Houston. I mean, the Wednesday game against Utah, that's going to be a
They
marquee
got
game.
Utah and LA in back to back.
Those are measuring stick games
Yeah.
for them. So,
But then you
and
got
they're both national
Washington,
TV.
Houston, Miami's tough, Sacramento, San Antonio, Milwaukee's tough,
Milwaukee.
Philly's tough.
Ooh, that
Oh, look
stretch
at
right
that
there.
stretch.
Milwaukee, Philly. I mean, Boston is, but these you still can't take them lightly.
No.
Brooklyn,
And then New York,
I mean,
you can't
the
take
Knicks,
lightly.
like,
And then
the Knicks
and then
are fighters.
and then
all
the
right?
then the Clippers, then the
Utah.
Utah again, then OKC.
That is a
was-
brutal
that's
stretch of.
brutal.
Ugh.
They have a tough last, I would say, 15, 20
know what?
games.
If anybody hops Phoenix, it would be in that stretch right
Yep.
there.
Yep, that's
So
the stretch.
that almost makes these 2 games, Wednesday and Thursday of next week, and those are back to backs.
Yeah.
And one's a home
Man.
and one's an away.
Phoenix might have the toughest schedule the rest of the way.
I thought it was kinda
I'm
light.
curious to see what what team has the toughest schedule from here on out. They're up there. That's a tough schedule.
Well,
And
yeah,
remember the Nuggets already went through their tough schedule because their second half of their schedule, I believe, is lighter than at least the first half.
Yeah.
So the Nuggets could catch Phoenix. They would have to get hot. The Clippers game was huge. Them beating
It's
the
that
Clippers
stretch
was
right there,
massive
though.
because now they got Orlando, Detroit, San Antonio back to back. They can win those 4 games. They should win those 4 games. Denver should be on an 8-game winning streak by April 10th.
Well, I mean, and even looking at Phoenix's schedule to close the year, I mean, your last 5 are against, as of right now, playoff teams or playoff caliber teams. You have at Lakers, at Golden State. I would assume Steph and Draymond would be healthy for that. So
Mhm.
that's not a game that you can just take lightly. I think I would take Phoenix in that
Did
game.
you
but it's
see
not,
Golden State get beat yesterday?
Well, yeah, but
Did you see?
Steph and Draymond didn't play.
I know, but did you see that score? That was nuts.
They lost by 70. That's like when I'm trying to, I'm badge grinding in 2K. And I,
right, right.
I put up, I get a 60-point victory. But that's a tough stretch. You got at LA, Lakers, at Golden State, Portland, and then 2 against San Antonio, who I get San Antonio, they're kind of stuck in the middle of like, are we tanking? Are we not tanking? But I mean, still, that's 3 tough games at least. And before that, they have the Knicks. Like the Knicks they're a playoff team now. They're like 1 game above or below 500, something like that. But they're a scrappy team this year.
Yeah.
Like you just can't take the Knicks lightly.
Okay.
So
Listen to the Nuggets last 15 then. You got Portland, at Golden State. Then you got Houston, Memphis, New Orleans, Toronto. Then at LA, Clippers and Lakers are going to stay in LA for those 3 days. Then you got the Knicks at Utah and then Brooklyn. They got at Utah and Brooklyn back to back. That's tough. But then to end your last 4, you got Charlotte, Minnesota, and Detroit, and then at Portland that last game.
yeah.
So that's not a brutal schedule. You got tough games, but that's not a brutal schedule.
Well, I mean that stretch in May to May 8th, though.
Yeah.
I mean, from Clippers, Lakers, Knicks, Utah, Brooklyn.
Right. That's tough.
On a back-to-back.
Right. That's your tough 5. But they don't have like Phoenix has like a 15-game stretch where it's like, all right, you get 1 game where it's a break.
That stretch of Milwaukee, Philly, we assume Joel's going to be back. That's 18 days from now that they play them. Milwaukee, Philly, Boston, Brooklyn, Clippers, Utah.
That's brutal.
Ugh. Now, luckily, there's not many back-to-backs in there. They actually don't have any back-to-backs in there. So that's the good part, at least. Most of it's on the road. Like, that's a 5-game road trip right there for them. I mean, Phoenix, they're not locked in. They're not locked in at 2 now that we see their stretch. But I think that makes these games against Utah and LA early in the next few days critical. They have to win those. And they're kind of like Denver, too, in that they play down to those bad Eastern Conference teams. So it's going to be crucial that they take care of business against
Utah. Utah has a ridiculously easy schedule. I mean, you got a couple tough ones, but they got Orlando, then at Dallas, at Phoenix, and then Portland.
Doesn't their whole run, like, I get it, they're a really good basketball team. No one, I don't think, is denying that they're not a good basketball team. Their run just feels so Denver Nuggets-esque of yesteryear, to where it just feels fluky.
Yeah,
like everybody's playing so great. They've almost been playing too great for such an extended period that you just feel like it can't be sustained.
Yeah.
Like, they have talent. They're a really good basketball team. I'm not trying to knock Utah. I don't like Utah, but I'm not. You can't deny it. I just don't think they're as good as people.
Well, and here's the thing: if Dallas, for whatever reason, gets that 8 seed, I wouldn't be shocked.
Dallas, but you can't over. And that's the thing. I was watching NBA TV the other night, or was it TNT when the Nuggets were on, and they were talking about like who do you want to see in the West if you're one of these teams? And it's like, well, I don't want to see any of these teams. Like, yes, there's more favorable matchups, but when you look at the West, it's a literal murderer's row.
1 through 7. 1 through 7 is brutal.
Yes. Well, and I think if Golden State
gets healthy,
eventually they will.
Yeah.
You still don't want to see Steph in the playoffs.
Yeah, you don't want to see Golden State as an 8 seed. Are you kidding me?
I don't. I don't want to see them. And it's like I don't want to see Dallas with, like, now I'm more comfortable with that matchup. But like, I still don't want to have to go up against Luka. And I'm thinking Kristaps will figure it out and put it together. Even though the other night he shot like 2 of 9. In Portland, like, we know, is Portland probably the scariest matchup in the first round for anybody?
I think so.
Because you just know what Damian does, and it's just
as far as the lower seed 6, 7, 8 goes, yeah. And what's crazy, they're only half a game behind Denver. There could be a situation where it goes Utah, Phoenix, Denver, Portland. Wouldn't be shocked. The Lakers could easily fall to 6.
Yeah, well, I mean, but they're not gonna, which they shouldn't. They're not gonna rush AD and LeBron back for seeding purposes. No, which they shouldn't.
But that would suck if Denver gets that 3 seed and then it's like, crap.
Lakers, or if they fall to 7 and Phoenix is like, we made the playoffs.
Well, I don't. The Dallas would have to go. Dallas has won 3 in a row. The Lakers.
I mean, that would have to be like a catastrophic drop by the Lakers.
And it would have. It should have. Right. It should have already happened with the Lakers. The Lakers have won a couple where it's like, okay,
They've I guess they've only won one in a row, but they've started to figure it out a little
yeah,
bit. But it's just as a Nuggets fan, I'm like, I hate the Western Conference. But like as a basketball fan, I'm like, man, the West is so freaking
yeah.
fun.
I mean,
I love it.
at least you don't have to play Brooklyn.
Well, yeah. And like, could you imagine though if we did 1 through 16 this year? Like the
I'm curious
matchups
to
you'd
see.
see in that, I'd be curious to see what those matchups would be.
Yeah.
I'm curious. I'm gonna map it out. Do you have anything you want to get to while I map this out?
Um, that would be tough. I'm looking at it now. You would have, let's see, all 8 seeds in the East would be in the top.
Well, it'd be Brooklyn. Well, no, Utah. So Utah would be your 1. Brooklyn would be your 2.
No,
Philly would
no,
be
no,
your
no, 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 no. Phoenix would be your 2.
34 and oh yeah, that's true. So Phoenix would be your 2. Brooklyn would be your 3. Philly would be 4, right?
Yes.
And then
Oh, well, there's a league tab.
Is
Okay,
there?
so yes, so it'd go Utah. God, it would go
Really?
yes, it would go Utah, Phoenix,
we're
Brooklyn,
not smart.
then Philly,
We're so stupid. How did we pass college?
Philly, Milwaukee, 2 LA teams, Denver, Portland, Dallas.
Okay, we're
3,
6.
4, 5, 6, 7.
5,
Ooh,
10.
Boston would miss it. Well, Boston and New York are tied, but Boston would miss it. So it would be
New York Knicks would be your 16 seed.
yeah, it would be Utah versus New York.
The Knicks, boring. Phoenix versus Memphis, horrendous. Brooklyn versus Miami,
That'd be fun.
might be decent for like a game.
Yeah.
Philly versus Atlanta, I wouldn't mind
Okay.
seeing Trey in the playoffs, but that would be probably a sweep. Milwaukee versus Charlotte, that's
That's
a
a sweep.
definite sweep. God, the East is so bad. The Clippers versus San Antonio, that's a sweep. Lakers versus Dallas. Okay, now we're starting to get. And of course, the Nuggets versus Portland. I hate it. I hate it here. I hate it. I hate it. Gosh, Portland is like the bigger brother that just never leaves you alone.
No.
And they just keep picking on you. Go home. No one likes you anymore. Ask for a trade already, Damian.
They are literally in the middle.
Yeah.
That
would be the
so
best
funny.
series right there, by far.
Yeah. Well, the Lakers and Dallas would be fun.
That'd be a close second, but no one would drag it out. No one drags out a playoff series like the Nuggets. The Nuggets like to selfishly make it like death for their fans to watch.
Here's another question that we can get to. So the Nuggets, when you look at year 1, okay, so year 1 they beat San Antonio 7, and then they beat Portland in 7, or they lost to Portland 7, right?
Yeah.
The next year you go down 3-1 in both series, you win in 7, and then you lose to LA in 5.
Yeah.
But looking at those first 2 rounds, do you think that Denver has learned a little bit as far as closing teams out earlier? Do you think that they will? Do you think that they, at least this year, do you think they will come into the playoffs a little bit more on fire as far as not waiting till they're in a tough situation to get going? Do you think Nikola Jokic, Jamal Murray, do you think they'll kind of be like, okay, especially because this season, and we saw it, I think everyone got a little emotional with the fans in the stadium. If there's going to be fans in the playoffs, the Nuggets will have home court, like officially real home court advantage. Do you think that they close out teams a little bit easier this year with their talent level? If we're saying that they are now with the Lakers and the Clippers as far as the top 3 teams in the West, do they close out teams like Dallas, Portland a little bit easier than they would have last year or the year before?
Here's what I'll say. I think mentally, yes. But will it happen? Probably not. And I think there's 2 factors. One, because if it's Portland or Dallas you're getting, now if it's like Golden State or San Antonio, yes. But obviously they would have to be a 2 or 1 to get that. But I think if it's one of those teams, yes. But I think part of it's going to be because of the team that they'll face, whether it's Portland, Dallas, LA, one of the LA teams. And part of it is just the Nuggets just like to make things entertaining for the rest of basketball fans, but near death for their own fans. They just like to take things down to the wire. And given with how this team plays in third quarters, they've given up a lot of big leads this year. I'm just hoping that they start a series better. I'm not going to say that it can't go 7 because the West is just loaded. Like, I mean, I don't think it's a knock on a team to say if they go 6 or 7 because do I expect them to win in 5 over Portland? Maybe 6. If it's 5, it's going to be 5 knockdown, drag out games. I mean, they're not going to blow Portland out. Now, Dallas, I would say that they should beat them in 6, if not 5. But again, it's going to be knockdown, drag out type of game. So I think they have learned to maybe start series better.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as like, oh, they need to close it out in this amount of time, I just don't think we're there yet because this team just loves drama. They love it and they flourish in it, thankfully. Like Jamal would pass up an open shot for a 27-foot contested fadeaway jumper, and he'll make it. MPJ, the guy is literally in his airspace tickling his nostrils, messing around with his frontal lobe on the contest, and he'd rather take that 3. Another thing that bothers me about Jamal, can I just say this? Jamal gets switched on a big so much, and he just never attacks the big. He just never
he
wants
likes
to attack the big.
he wants to take the step back.
As soon as he sees the big, he's like, oh yeah, through the legs 3 times, and he takes a step back, and I'm just like, here we go. He's going to do it again. I know where this is going.
But you know
And
what's
every time
funny is most of the time it goes in.
half of the time it does.
Hey, that's a pretty good damn
But I'm just
percentage.
like, every time he gets it, like normal point guards like CP3 or, Ja Morant, Damian, they attack the guy. Jamal's like, yes, this gives me license to take 10 more steps back.
Well, yeah, it's a little Steph-ish. Steph likes to
It
do that
is.
too.
But I'm just like,
His favorite
why?
player growing up was Steph, so that's why.
But you know what? You kind of like we said with Will Barton, you have to take Jamal's good with Jamal's bad.
Mhm.
There's a lot of painful moments with Jamal. The
Not-
behind the back passes.
Yeah, that I don't get his love for
Every
that.
pass.
I don't.
Every pass to Jokic is behind the back, and I'm just like, please, Jamal, just give him a simple chest pass. For all
I
that
don't
hope.
get it.
Give him a
That's one of the weirdest things with Jamal.
Yes,
I don't
but you
get
have to
it.
take all that.
Yeah.
His contested jumpers over bigs rather than take him to the basket. All of it. You got to live with that.
I look forward to those though.
because-
And when I see a big get switched on, I'm like, oh, here we go.
Yeah,
I
when
get
I see it, I'm
excited.
like, yeah, you say, oh, here we go. I'm like, oh, here we go. That's what I say. But you have to take the good with the bad.
Yeah.
Because then you see him do things like he did the other night to where it's, oh, Kawhi's in my face. I'm going to hang in the air for 10 seconds and shoot the floater and it's net. Oh, Marcus Morris or whichever Morris is out there is closing out. Boom, bucket with 2 minutes left to push the game out. And it's just like, okay. I mean, he makes those. And then, you have Jokic. I mean, you have to take some of Jokic's bad too. His constant complaining. He does complain a lot still. His stupid fouls still gets me. He does dumb things. But then, he does the beautiful Sambor shuffle. Or, the way he just maneuvers the ball in his hand.
The one-handed catch and he just kind of held it up because no one could reach, and he's like, here you go. Pops it in.
I'm just like, he just catches it and he just does like weird things.
Everyone else
I
around
swear
him
his
is trying to like reach the ball.
His wrist spins like an owl's head. It goes 360. I swear it does. It's just a revolving hand, and he's just like, and then he just lays it up. And I'm just like, how do you do that? How do you do that?
You know what's the crazy thing is Jamal's what, 25, 24, 24.
20,
Jokic
I
is
think.
25, almost 26. Maybe may have already turned 26.
MPJ's 22.
MPJ's 22. And by the way, Aaron Gordon's 25.
Is he really? Wow.
Yeah. 25, 26.
It's right there. It is there.
It's right there.
This is the best chance they have.
Yeah, this is a
It's a
season
2 to 3 year
because well, I would say this season might be their best chance. Well, again, at least getting to the finals, because the two LA teams they're gonna or at least the Lakers will retool. The Clippers, we'll see, because Kawhi Leonard can leave.
He can.
We will see what happens with that. Because if he joins a team like Phoenix,
Mhm.
or a team like Utah, or a team like, the Lakers, say he says, screw it, I'm going to go join LeBron and AD, then things
Brooklyn.
change, right? But as far as getting to the finals, this is the Nuggets' best chance and will probably be their best chance until maybe 3-4 years down the road.
Let me ask you this, because I was thinking about this morning. If Brooklyn, if it was just KD and Kyrie,
I'd be feeling really good
would this be the Nuggets' best chance
to
to
win it. Yes, I would say this is their best chance to get to the finals in the West, at least for the next 3 years. I would say that third, fourth year down the road, that's going to be their best chance to win it. And Stephen A said, it's funny, Stephen A was saying that this Nuggets team, if they keep Aaron Gordon and MPJ hits that next level, they will win a championship within the next 3 years. And I agree with that. But a lot is right on MPJ. That's the thing. Is like
what we thought too. Like it was okay. Jokic can get them to the playoffs, but Jamal has to take them.
Jamal can get them to the conference finals.
Will get you there. Jamal can get you through everybody, but MPJ, if he hits the ceiling, he's the one that's over the top.
Yeah, he will win it for you.
Yep. Because again, now we go back to, okay, yes, the Lakers have a better one than Jokic, but is it LeBron and then 6 feet of space in Jokic?
No, not anymore.
It's maybe 2 feet, 3 feet.
Oh.
It's AD and then it's Jamal. Well, is it 6 feet of space between AD and Jamal?
Not the way AD is playing right now.
Maybe 2 or 3. Well, and his injuries too, right?
Yeah.
Who's 6 feet ahead of MPJ that's on the same team as 2 other stars?
No one. He might be 6. He might be the one 6 feet ahead of the other team's 3. Now, when Kuzma plays MPJ, he likes to, Kuzma all of a sudden becomes like MPJ's level when they play each other.
I love this. It's like the Spider-Man meme. One of them is the black suit side of Spider-Man, and the other's the regular one.
Yeah.
So it's just, I just don't like Kuzma gets up for that. He just loves playing MPJ, and I feel like MPJ's just like, leave me alone, nerd. Like, you wish you could
I'm way better than you. Just leave.
You're the pervert. You're Cliff Paul. I'm Chris Paul. Leave me alone.
Right.
Go away.
Right.
But no, it's the only team that's like that you can look at the 3 and say, their 1's better than our 1, their 2's better than our 2, their 3's better than our 3. It's Brooklyn. But again, it's not KD is 6 feet better than Jokic. No. It's not Harden. Well, there might be like 4 or 5 feet between Harden and
very good.
and
yes.
Small, but there might be like 4 or 5 feet from Kyrie.
Yeah,
and MPJ,
there's a pretty big. There's a pretty big gap. Big gap. But again, they're all 20, 29, 30. These guys here, they're 22, 24, 25, or 20, 22, 25, 26. So, like, they still got a lot of time. Now, a lot can change, but this is looking like, and we've talked about it in the past couple of years, they're getting close to that point where Golden State was when they started to win their championships before KD. Like, they're getting very close.
But even then, even if you hit that, there's no guarantee. Because we saw it with OKC. You had 3 MVPs on one team and a defensive player in the year in Serge Ibaka, and you still didn't get it done.
Yeah.
You made it, but
when it's because of who you run into. There's always going to be the 1 or 2 greatest players in the league, and the Nuggets just don't have that. The Nuggets, look, Jokic is a top 5 guy. And look, you could probably make an argument he's top 4 right now, right? It goes LeBron, KD. I'd probably put Harden at 3, and then Jokic. It's pretty close as far as not necessarily MVP, but who the best players in the league are. So if you run into one of those guys, it's it's tough. It's tough because at the end of the day, it's not who your top 5 is as far as winning the championship. It's who's your best 1. Who do you have? Do you have LeBron? Are you playing LeBron? Do you have KD? Are you playing KD? And then once you get past those 2, it's like, okay, well, if you're not playing against either of those 2 and you don't have either of those 2, it gets interesting. But you're going to have to play one of those 2 at some point. And if you want to win the whole thing, you're going to have to go through both of them.
Mhm.
They're going to have to beat LeBron, and they're going to have to beat Kevin Durant if they want to win this year. And it's just not going to happen. And by the way, I haven't said it yet, but I say it almost every time we talk about the Nuggets getting to the finals. LeBron James has made it to 10 straight when he's made the playoffs. Until he doesn't, he's going to get there. So depending on injuries, that's the only way that derails him from getting to the finals is injuries.
Yeah.
He's done it 10 straight years. So you either gotta have Golden State type level of team, or you're not gonna beat him.
You have to out talent him. It has to be
It's
the
that
Avengers
meme.
versus Thanos.
It's right. It's that meme of you need 5 guys to beat this one guy. Yes, that's what it takes.
Yes. Yep. It's gonna be fun. We're coming down the stretch of it, and this Nuggets team is so exciting.
They've
now.
entered the
Granted,
room though. They have officially entered that room with the Lakers, the Clippers, and the Nets. They have entered that room.
And I think a lot of Utah fans. You probably throw Phoenix fans in there too. You have to ask Coach.
Well, I think Phoenix fans know that this team is pretty young. They're not there yet.
Sure, but I think a lot of Phoenix fans.
They're where the Nuggets were 2 years ago.
They're back, and they're not only back, they're not just like squeaking into the 8th seed, right? Like the Nuggets.
Well, that's
were.
what I'm
like
saying.
The Nuggets were a game away against that.
Well, no,
that
but
Minnesota
when the
Nuggets
Nuggets first made the playoffs, they made it as a 2 seed. That was 2 years ago.
right,
They're
but
that
like
team.
you're a little overzealous in your expectation,
Right? Because you're young.
Because there's something to it that yes, you have Chris Paul, but you have to go through it.
Yeah.
And it's a series. Like it's not a one game thing. It's not the
Right.
NFL to where the 6 seed can have a great day and take out the 2 seed.
Right.
It just doesn't happen like that. So, but I think Utah fans and Phoenix fans, they're like, well, look at the years we're having, and now you're talking about Denver, who they're just now figuring out, and now they're better. I think a lot plays into experience. A lot of it's about matchup. And when you see the horses now that Denver has, with Jokic turning into what he's turned into, with Jamal now being what he is, with MPJ taking the next step in his progression, and then Aaron Gordon, who is, I would say, an all-star fringe type of player, he's your 4th option. And maybe on some nights your 5th option. So it's going to be a fun team to watch. I'm excited for the playoffs. I'm excited to see this team grow. Before we wrap, though, Monte Morris should be back on Sunday. So that's at least an upgrade. But do you know who they play on Sunday?
Orlando. Is Gary playing, or is he still hurt?
I don't know. I don't think Gary's playing. But it's just going to be
They might beat Orlando by 40. Orlando's not very good.
I just feel so bad for Gary.
They traded all their good players, but yeah, that might be a 40-point win for the Nuggets. The way the Nuggets are playing right now with Monte back, that's
well, I mean, at
ugly.
least in the first quarter. I mean, I mean, I had the stat up too. I need to find it again. But the Nuggets are in their 3 games are like outscoring teams by 40. They're starting 5.
Yeah,
outscoring
it's
the other
ridiculous.
So, yeah, good luck, Orlando. I mean, RJ Hampton, you're gonna get a lot of minutes now, son. So there you go, run wild.
Yeah.
But I just feel so bad for Gary. But
you know what though, this would be a hell of a year to win it because Gary would get a ring.
Yeah.
Like if the Nuggets if I could pick any year for the Nuggets to win a championship over the next 5 years, it would be this year. Not just because it's the soonest, but because Gary would then get a ring. Because he deserves it. Even if it's 5 years from now and they win it, they should still make one for Gary. Because he is part of the reason why.
It just sucks. It just sucks because it was out of his control. Yeah. It's nothing that he could really control. The injuries came, and then the confidence as a result of not playing as much, and it's just it's going to be tough. But this team is in a good spot. There's now a legitimate window for 2 or 3 years, maybe 2, more than 3, depending on if they can.
I wouldn't be shocked. Aaron Gordon is that type of player where they can resign because he might just love it here.
Well,
it's not.
I'm worried about
like
what it's going to be with MPJ though. What is because he's going to be near max.
Well, no. At this point, it's the Nuggets. It's on their ownership because Gordon won't be someone where it's like, oh, I want to have a bigger role. Like he's not going to want that, right? And if you can offer him the same money, which the Nuggets have offered the same money to Jeremy Grant, then yes. Now the question is, are the Nuggets willing to go into the luxury tax?
They have to if they want to win a championship.
Right. But that's the question. Because
Because you have pieces.
because Aaron Gordon, you have Aaron Gordon for the rest of this year and next year. So that year after, you're going to have to pay MPJ and Aaron Gordon. You can go into luxury tax because you traded for Aaron Gordon, so you have his bird rights. So you can sign all four of them. You're gonna and you'll be able to re-sign. You'll still have Monte, and so you'll still have a solid team. You're gonna have to let Will go. You're gonna lose Millsap, but again, are you willing to go into the luxury tax for this group? Because at that point, if you are that good and say you get say you win it this year or next year, hypothetically, all of a sudden, guys are going to be wanting to come play for you. Just like guys wanted to go play for Golden State when they were winning.
Well, I think as long as you have the two main guys here, as long as it's Jamal and Jokic, or hell, even Jokic, guys are going to want to play here.
Yeah.
Because guys now recognize him as, okay, yeah, he's kind of goofy,
He's fun
kind
to play
of
with.
awkward, but he's fun to play with. There's no ego. He has the talent of a 1-star, but he doesn't demand to be the guy. He'll let you shine. Like Jokic has put up like 16 and 17 points.
He's literally hurting his own MVP case right now. These last 3 games, he doesn't care.
Nope.
He probably hasn't thought about it once. Like, oh, I only had 14, 7, and 7 today. That hurts my numbers. I might not win MVP. He's not going to think that 1 second. We are. We're like, hey, we want an MVP here.
I'm literally crying a river every night when I go to bed. But it is what it is. If it means, here's what I'll say. I'd rather Nikola Jokic win Finals MVP than the regular season MVP. I'll take that any day, any moment.
I'll take 1 over 5 regular season MVPs.
Sure. I'll take it. So, and now we can legitimately say there is a for sure window for 2 years.
Yep.
There's a championship window for this season and next season.
And if you lose it this season, you go all out in free agency. You're making all you're making all the stops. Like you are Connolly, like he saw there was a window this season, so he went out and got Gordon and JaVale. Now if you get back to the conference finals or you lose in the finals to Brooklyn, but you get there, now it's okay, all out luxury tax, let's go.
Now you're putting up the bat signal for Kawhi. Come home, champ. We need a Joker and a robot to take out the Brooklyn Nets. That's what you need.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
But I think at the bare minimum, because it's so hard to win championships in sports, I think one thing that Nuggets fans should be happy about, if this doesn't go the way we all hope, Connolly tried.
Yeah.
You can't say he didn't try.
Right.
He tried his best to maximize his stars window. And thankfully, Jokic is only 25, so he still has a big window to try and maximize.
How old is he?
But as he's on the precipice of his prime, like Jokic is literally in the first year of his prime.
Yeah, he just turned
his actual prime. And we're seeing that with an MVP type of season. He's at the beginning of his prime, and Connolly is maximizing the window to win. And I can be happy with that. If you don't win, yeah, it sucks. We want to win, but you know what? He's at least trying to do it. He's not continuing to play the just wait it out, be patient. We're almost there. We have the pieces. Just wait it out. No, he's like, you know what? This is a chance. I'm going to take it. I'm going to risk it. And I think that'll pay off in the long run.
Yeah.
Hopefully for the championship. But
and it's funny. I didn't realize, but Jamal and Jokic, their birthdays are 4 days apart.
Yep, they're both in February.
Yeah, they're 2 years apart, 26, 24. MPJ turns 23 in June. So starting next season, you're going to have a 26-year-old, a 24-year-old, and a 23-year-old. All could possibly be all-star players.
Maybe the Nuggets here in a few years that have 3 starters on the Western Conference team.
Yeah, that's nuts. Oh, and by the way, Aaron Gordon is 25.
Man, there's a legitimate window.
Aaron Gordon is 25. He turns 26 in September.
We all need to start a GoFundMe just like as a backup fund for the Nuggets that they can dip into to
Right.
to get free
Hey,
agents.
you know what?
Free one.
The Rockies aren't doing crap. Just give them some money.
Yeah, just pass over the check. Everybody start a fund. The
Sorry,
state of
Avs.
Colorado.
Sorry, Avs. You're gonna get screwed.
Yeah, yeah.
But
No one,
hey,
even though they're like beating teams 12-3 every night,
yeah,
looking
that's
like
nuts.
Denver Broncos scores, and the Broncos are usually on the 3 end of that, not the 12. But yeah, I mean, talk about what a good time for the Cronkies. Your two best teams are literally both have chances to win a
They
championship.
could both be in the finals this year. There's a chance that they could
Yeah.
both be in the finals.
Well, I think many expect the Avs to be in the Stanley Cup.
You know what's funny is that before the Nuggets made the playoffs 2 years ago, there was I think I think it was one season in the last 20 years that they both made the playoffs in the same year. And now they've
Not
made it
even-
3 straight, and not only that, but they could both be in the finals
Mhm.
the same year. Or within the next 5 years, they could both be in the finals 1 or 2 times each.
I'll say this, I only speaking for me. I'm sure it's kind of the same for you, but I'm not a huge hockey fan.
No.
I'm not a huge I wouldn't really characterize myself as an Avalanche fan. Like I'll root home team, win a championship, but I'm not like actively watching the games every night or like rooting for them.
Mhm.
But if we do not have a championship from one of those two teams within the next 5 to 7 years, at least one, then that's going to be really disappointing.
Yeah.
Because you look at what the Nuggets have with their young core, you look at what the Avs have, you know what Nathan McKinnon brings to that team. Like, I mean, when you don't even need to be a hockey fan to just watch him and know, oh, he's different than all the other guys. Like he just glides across the ice. His speed is stupid. But then you have a guy like Cale Makar, who's like their version of MPJ.
Mhm.
He's this uber talented player, and he's super young, and he could be one of the best at his position someday.
And Landy's like their Gary Harris.
Oh,
Sorry, he's like, well, I mean, Landeskog's better, obviously, and he means more to that team. But as far as the guy that kind of started it,
yeah. And they did those commercials to Gary or with Gary, like Landeskog and Gary. Did they do those?
I think so.
altitude
Yeah, I
commercials
think
together?
so. Yeah, back in 2014.
Gary's in the shower. Oh, I miss Gary Harris. Man, it sucks. But no, like we should have a championship from one of those two teams within the next 5 to 7 years.
Yep.
It's fun. I'm excited, man.
And hey,
And
if the
then-
Broncos move up and get Justin
That's
Fields,
what I was gonna say. I was gonna
We'll
say that you
see.
paired that with the Broncos and what they're doing. Maybe they turn it around.
by the
Maybe
way,
they find a way
I
to create
watched
the one and get Trevor Lawrence.
I watched Justin Fields a little bit. He's good, man. People forget. People get caught up in those 2 games against Northwestern and against I don't know, but Northwestern was the number 1 ranked
He did play
defense.
well in the championship game.
Well, he was hurt. He was hurt.
He got hurt.
But here's the thing: he's played Trevor Lawrence twice, and he's beat him twice and outplayed him twice. And it was always the last 3 years. It was always Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields. They were the two that everyone was talking about. All of a sudden, Zach Wilson comes out of nowhere. Trey Lance kind of comes out of nowhere. Mac Jones all of a sudden is apparently could be the number 3 pick. People are sleeping
That's
on
what I was
Justin
gonna
Fields.
say. Is Justin Fields' stock is dropping
Because-
rapidly?
because-
and Mac Jones' stock is increasing rapidly.
And-
And I'm
and
just like,
It doesn't
Eh,
make sense. It doesn't make sense. It really should be Trevor Lawrence 1, Justin Fields 2. Now, I think Zach Wilson's raw talent, is ahead of Justin Fields, but I think Justin Fields right now is slightly better. Here's the thing: if San Fran, if they take Mac Jones, the Broncos better be trying everything they can to grab Justin
San Fran's
Fields.
at 3, right?
Yeah.
Because the Jets are at 2.
And if Justin Fields is available, you do everything you can because
Well, we got what,
He's
23
better.
days?
We'll see.
24 days?
we'll see.
3 weeks, a little over 3 weeks?
Justin Fields is best case scenario right now for the Broncos.
Yeah. Well, and we'll talk more about the Broncos when we get
Yeah,
closer
we'll
to the
start
draft, but
doing
this
mock drafts and stuff.
like the more, and I tweeted it, there's no reason that this team shouldn't win 9 to 10 games next year,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
Like even if it's Drew Lock at the helm.
Yeah.
Like I don't think there's any excuses now at this point because there's so much talent on this team now, defensively, offensively. if it's Drew Lock, okay, he's got another year. Continuity. That's what everybody was telling us, right?
Yep.
Is they just need continuity. Well, he's got another year. Tim Patrick says now he's doing things he wasn't doing last year. He's coming in early, staying late, taking things a little bit more seriously. We saw Philip Lindsay, his comments. I don't know if you saw that the other day, but he told Sirius that Drew has the tools. He just needs to, essentially grab the bull by the horns. That it's on Drew. Drew has the talent. It's just about taking the step and taking it and grabbing the opportunity. So the Broncos should be a 9 to 10 win team. I was looking at their schedule. There's only 2 teams that I could count as for sure losses. The Chiefs game and the Baltimore game, or at least 2 games that I would pick as losses. Outside of that, I think they'll at the bare minimum split with the Raiders and the Chargers. I think they beat, and off the top of my head, I think they beat Pittsburgh. I think they beat Dallas. I think they beat Jacksonville. Detroit, I think they have the Jets again. I think they beat the Browns they have. So, listen, this should be a 9 to 10 win football team. And if they're not in the wild card, then it's a massive failure. And it just shows that Big Fangio probably shouldn't be the guy.
Yeah.
So,
well, it should be overall in Denver sports these past couple of years, or I guess, yeah, like the 2-3 years before these past couple of years were pretty rough. These past couple of years have been all right. These next 2-3 years, it should be a lot of fun.
Well, it's kind of like during the Manning years, the Nuggets and Avs were kind of poop, right? They're pretty trash. And then at the end, the Avs were I think they made it to the playoffs and lost to the Wild.
Yep.
And then the Nuggets were in that like play-in situation.
Right. But then from 2015 to 2018, it was pretty just crap. And then, or I guess, 2016 to 2018, there was those 2 years just brutal. Nuggets missed the playoffs by a game. Avs made it, but they lost in the first round. Broncos were crap and have been crap. And then all of a sudden, the Nuggets started to figure it out. The Avs started to figure it out. We'll see.
They've been carrying it.
Yeah.
And then the Rockies are just in the corner sniffing glue.
Yeah.
Just kind of like, picking their noses and window licking. So they're just like, oh, there's the Rockies over there just hanging out. So, but they did make the playoffs though. What was it, 3 years ago? And they lost to the Brewers?
Yeah.
It was the playing game or something like that. So, or not the playing game. It was just the one wild card game, right?
Yeah, something like that. I don't know.
And then they decided to trade away a future Hall of Famer and money. So they had to pay someone to take a Hall of Famer.
Yeah,
Never seen that happen.
They literally took we'll trade this guy for a bag of peanuts. Seriously. They actually did that.
Here's peanuts and and a Hall of Famer. Top that. And they're like, we won't. Let's do it. They're like, are you sure you don't want more? We could give you Nikola Jokic. We could give you more. So, yeah, the Rockies they're in a world of trouble. But they won their first game. They won on opening day.
Yeah, then they lost 11-6 last night.
Then they got kicked in the face. Then it was back to reality. But for one shining moment, the Rockies were atop the NL West. So,
yeah, that's the last time for the next decade.
Yeah, that's pretty much.
That's
it.
The only time they can be first in the NL West is winning Game 1.
Oh, that's brutal. I was very depressed because Cameron tweeted me, "There's going to be no bets this year." I was like, "Are you sure?" I was hoping that he would tweet back at me after they won the first game and be like, "Know what? Changing my mind," and I would have jumped on that thing so quick. But speaking of bets,
thank you, Aaron Gordon. Saved my bet.
Hear me out, guys. Hear me out as to why I think the Nuggets should actually tank the next 3 weeks. Here's why I think this is a good idea. Okay. No, I can't even. So for those who don't get it, we did our Nuggets predictions, right? And we predicted the record. I think you had 45 wins and I had like 42. So we decided
something like that.
44 and less, or I think it was 44 and up and 43 and less is me.
Yep.
So it was a crumble.
Yeah, we bet a $10 crumble or box or whatever.
I think it was just the gift card.
The gift card. Okay.
But yeah, it was looking good for me. Like the entire season.
Yeah.
And then the trade happened and I was living in Cloud 9. I'm like hopping around in like fields of bunnies and in my Nikola Jokic onesie and I'm happy. Life is good. And then you tweet me about the bet and literally everything just went black. And I just my whole world stopped for a moment. And I was like, Oh no.
How many games do they play this year? 72.
72.
So
And they're at 30 wins.
there's 24 games left. They would have to win
They just
14
need
for me to
14
win. So
games.
they got to go 14 and 10. Oh, that's easy. That is so that's nothing. They're gonna go sorry, I cussed. They should go. They could possibly go 20-4. You never know.
I'm gonna need Orlando, Detroit, Houston, twice Houston, Toronto, Knicks, Charlotte, Detroit, Minnesota. I'm looking at you. I need this.
You would rather see the Nuggets drop to a 7 seed?
Yes, absolutely. Yes. Not even a question. So, you know where my allegiances lie. That's all I'm saying. I was telling you, I might have to kidnap Nikola Jokic for like 4 weeks. Nobody's going to know where he's at. You know where he's at? He's in Steven's room eating crumble cookie. And I'm just looking at him like that video I sent you of SpongeBob. Hi, Kevin. That's just me in the corner. Hi, Nikola. Hi, Nikola. Do you want another cookie, Nikola? Can I get you anything?
So not only are you going to make him tank to the 7 or 8 seed, but you're going to make Jokic get fat. And so then when he comes back, he's going to be out of shape. He's going to get hurt, and they're going to lose. All for $10 worth of crumble cookie.
I never said I didn't have issues. So I understand my flaws as a human being. I don't need you to go on here and maximize my flaws and just broadcast it to the entire world. All right. That's going to do it for us today. We had fun for 2 hours gushing about the Denver Nuggets and their prospects.
Yep.
And
And then when they go over the next week, when they go 1-3, we'll be back next week saying fire Malone.
Yes, fire Malone. What did we even trade for Gordon for? Why did we not trade Jamal Murray?
You'll be happy,
And
though.
you know what? No, I see your little tweets. See, you think you're slick. I see your tweets about
What?
like, oh, it's happening. Oh, no, you don't get to do that. You
Hey, I was
wanted
right.
to
I was
Jamal-
right about
No,
I was right about Jamal. He
You
just
do
didn't want to
that.
play. He wanted to
You-
take the 2 months off.
you do not get to do that.
I was right.
You were killing him.
I was.
murdering him.
I was until I realized, wait a minute, he wanted a longer offseason. That's all it was.
You're awful.
Hey,
You don't get to
hey,
come back
you know
on
what?
the train.
I would still trade him for James Harden. I don't care if it's past the trade deadline. I would still do it. And you would too. I'm pretty sure 90% of Nuggets fans would.
It would hurt to go. Well, I don't know about that. It would hurt to let go of Jamal. He's made it to a point to where it's like, oh, like it hurts, but then it's like, oh, but we're getting a Hall of Famer back. We don't know if Jamal's gonna be a Hall of Famer. He has a talent to be,
Mhm.
but like Harden's like one of the best scorers like ever. So, yeah. Now MPJ on the other hand, I remember both of us kind of saying we'd put him in the trade.
Yeah.
I don't know if I do that.
I think in
anymore.
that moment we kind of forgot he was 21 years old or 22 years old.
We were angry. Things were said. We didn't mean them. You said them mainly. I was just
Whatever. Yeah. And by the
So-
way, I've seen all your Jamal tweets, so don't even you've been on the Jamal hate for the last 2 years. I've been having to kind of convince you that Jamal could be the guy.
Realism, because he couldn't be consistent. Excuse me for not wanting to see 7 of 24 games and 300-point game. So you don't get to
Hey,
walk
I was
back.
saying the same thing.
Just like you don't get to walk back and root for the Broncos this year. So even if they do get a quarterback, you know what? Here's what I hope happens. I hope the Broncos draft Zach Wilson and you can't even root for them because you're a Chiefs fan now. That's what I hope. You walked off the plank.
No, I did not.
We pushed you off the plank.
I was
You were
rooting
dropping to the
I was
ocean
rooting
and
for
we sailed away.
I was rooting for Brady to lose. That's what I was rooting for.
You were rooting for the Chiefs. You said you were a Chiefs fan.
Yes,
I
I
think
no.
you heard those words. I'm a
No,
Chiefs fan.
I said I'm rooting for the Chiefs in Super Bowl 55. That's what I
I
said.
heard I'm a Chiefs fan and always have been. I may be wrong, but that's what I heard. Pretty sure the people heard it as well. So you were left in the ocean, and Nicola and I sailed away as we left you off the plank. You and Gary in the water together.
Oh,
You
that's
twins? Yeah. You guys have been left.
no.
We didn't want to let Gary go, but there was too much weight on the ship, so we had to throw someone else overboard. Make us go a little faster to our destination. You're just a dead weight. All right, that's gonna do it for us today. Thank you guys for tuning in. We appreciate it. Today was fun. Orlando's gonna be rough tomorrow. Whenever they pan to Gary, I'm just not gonna look, so I don't cry. But
Oh yeah, you
and
know.
then
Wait, is it here or in Orlando?
it's here.
Okay, you know they're gonna put a nice video for Gary
And I'm gonna cry.
and fans
Tomorrow might cry.
and fans will be there.
I really hope he plays tomorrow. I don't think he will, but I really hope he does.
No, but the fans there, they
Yeah, give him a standing
yeah,
O.
whoever goes, yes,
I better
give him
see
a standing
Kroenke
ovation.
in the stadium too, giving a standing O.
yeah, they better
Him?
every single Nuggets player better be standing there clapping for
Yeah.
Gary. Well, I don't care if JaVale or Gordon isn't, but you know the rest of the guys.
That's gonna be an emotional moment. And then after that, you know who you got? You get Detroit. Jeremy Grant, the villain, comes home.
Yeah, with our replacement.
Yeah, you know what? Jeremy Grant was the hot girl that left us, and we were hurt for a little while, like really hurt, like crying, like snot coming down our nose, crying, like we were really hurt, but we were like, we're fine. We didn't even want you anyway. You weren't even that hot. And then Aaron Gordon was like, hey guys, and we're like, oh, she's hotter. So that's what we're gonna do. When Jeremy Grant comes here, we're like, oh yeah, you're ugly. That freckle that we overlooked, ugly. Aaron Gordon, she has no freckles. And she loves me. Okay, we're done. we need to wrap it up. My pickle juice is getting in my veins. I'm feeling a little rowdy. All right, that's gonna do it for us today. Oh boy. Too bad we're not a bigger podcast. I really think we could entertain the masses. From Brandon Stoll on the other side, I'm Stephen Priest Jr. This has been the Behind the Glass Sports Podcast.
Oh.